Okay, so I know that Trek AI is kind of the shiny object in the room right now, but let's back up just a little bit. I really want our listeners to hear your story, to hear the heart behind the tool and kind of get to know you both a little bit. So if you would, share with us the story of how you all even got into the AI space.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, yeah, our journey really does begin around 2017, 2016. And it was in GAC's pursuit of online courses. And so back then, we had a number of students who were looking for hybrid platforms. They wanted to be able to come for a face-to-face experience for part of the day and then go do tennis or golf or you name it in the afternoons or some ballet. We also had a number of students who wanted to take courses that we just didn't have enough students to offer on our brick and mortars. They maybe AP European history or some type of dual credit course that they wanted to take that we just did not have enough students to be able to offer. And so we began to look at online platforms and ultimately decided that we wanted to create our own. And so we believe that the same reason that we had issues being able to offer those courses, many other Christian schools would as well. And so we launched it as a partnership of Christian schools. And so Ethos, as you've already alluded, we started with 5 partner schools and 36 students with, I think, about 5 courses back in 2017. And to your point today, we're already well over 70 partner schools, over 1,000 enrollments on 6 continents. And so really, though, what happened whenever we launched it is we launched it with, if you just kind of think about it, we launched it with this concept of personalization in mind, personalization in learning. And for us, what that meant then was students be able to take courses they couldn't take in a normal context. But pretty quickly, our eyes kind of became opened to other ways to think about student personalization, just-in-time tutoring, things along those lines. And I like to reference Dr. Arthur Levine. Arthur Levine was the president of Teachers College at Columbia University. And he made this comment. He said, "Our social institutions mirror the economic paradigms in which we live." And I sit here and I think about, what does that really mean? And what he's saying is, I'm not smart enough to understand a lot of this, Jenny, so I like to think about it in the context of retail. Because believe it or not, before coming into Christian education, I worked at Home Depot corporate. And so retail's in my bones a little bit. And so I live in downtown Norcross, Georgia. And Norcross is an 1880s rail town. And in 1880, if I wanted to go buy a new suit in the agrarian economy, I'd walk down the street to Joe's General Store. Joe knew me. He knew what size I wore, knew what color I liked, knew I had 3 kids. He even knew I missed church on Sunday. We won't tell anybody, right? But he knew that. But the problem is the minute I placed that order, he knew it was going to be 2 weeks to get it, right? Because the general store was highly personal, but not scalable. In the same way, education, if you had means in the agrarian economy, you were educated by a private tutor. A private tutor knew you, strengths, weaknesses, all those things about you. But you couldn't scale a private tutor. And so as you move into the information age, and I want to go, or not the information age, but the industrial age, and I want to apologize for those from Arkansas on the front end. In retail, you got the big box, all right? In the big box, I don't know the last time you went to Walmart. Walmart certainly solved the scale question, but it came at a cost. All of a sudden, Joe, you don't know Joe, right? Joe doesn't work at Walmart anymore. And maybe there is a Joe at Walmart, but I don't know.
Probably.
And so it came at a cost, and that cost was personalization, right? And in education, the same thing happened. We got the industrial model of learning that we have today. Now, I'm thankful for the industrial model of learning because if not for that, I would have dropped out of school in 6th grade like my granddaddy did and gone and worked on the farm. Right. So it's certainly positive things that come from the industrial model of learning, but it came at a cost. And now we're not 1-to-1 with the private tutor. Now we're 20, 30-to-1 with that teacher. And so if what Levine says is true, and our social institutions mirror the economic paradigms in which we live, as we transition into the AI-based information age, we should expect changes to emerge in the way that our social institutions manifest. And so we began really in about 2020 to try to understand what does that mean. And what we realized was it really talking about how do you provide that personalized tutor experience at scale. And what we pretty quickly realized is the only way you're able to accomplish that is through AI and machine learning. And you think about a retail, we got that personalization at scale through Amazon. And that model has not been created yet in education. And so in 2020, we began to explore AI-based tools and how we could use AI-based tools to further our experience. Now, don't misread. In no way am I suggesting that teachers go away. Learning is a social experience,
Oh,
and it always
good.
will be.
Glad you clarified.
I don't
Might have
care
had
what.
a fight on our hands.
Yeah,
Right. My wife is very happy
yeah.
about this. She's an
Okay, good.
educator.
We got that out of the way.
I don't care what Bill Gates says, right? Learning is a social experience, and educators in Christian education know this better than anyone. They understand that education is not about knowledge transfer. Education is about student formation.
Right.
And so what we believe is that AI-based tools can actually help teachers, as you alluded to earlier, reclaim time for student formation. And so we began to explore in 2020, how do we build those tools that allow us to do that? Back then, we could barely spell AI. But we began building a data lake and a number of things like that. And then that way in 2023 and 2022, when ChatGPT came out, and Derek can talk a little bit more about this, we were able to pivot pretty quickly and leverage large language models and generative AI, taking advantage of their strengths, but mitigating their weaknesses with some core ways. And we'll talk more. We can talk more here in a minute about how we've done that within the large language model space.
Absolutely.
But also how we think about how we see the AI world in general emerging over time, and how we see it possibly even moving beyond generative AI into a new future. And how we're leaning into that as well. So that's our story. That's kind of our background. And really, to your point, wanting to see how we can partner and serve Christian schools in a way that allows these tools to be redeemed for Christian perspective, and really serving those schools themselves.
Yeah. Which makes you very unique, because
That's right.
I'm not hearing that from too many of these platforms. Brought to you by BJU Press.